Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Gio, and this story is called Gone. Let's begin. Friday night, 6 o'clock, 1 hour until party time. Happy 1 year anniversary to me and Keirnan. 1 year ago today, I moved in with Keirnan Castillos, the love of my life. That sounds so cliche, but it's true. Vicenzo Cristologos. That's me. My parents are Greek. So is my older sister. But I was born in America 2 months after my family migrated here, 22 years ago. I parked the car in front of our duplex apartment, carefully lifting the cake out of our back seat. I don't want to get that ruined. The lady that wrote the words on it did a very delicate job. Keirnan plus Vicenzo. Happy anniversary. That's a lot of letters on that poor chocolate ripple with raspberry filling cake. The frosting is green with 2 guys riding plastic bicycles on top, plus the usual spray of turquoise roses. Green is Keirnan's favorite color, and turquoise is my favorite color. Carefully, I balanced the cake as I carried it to our half of the duplex, while carrying one of the grocery sacks. Mrs. McGinnis, about 80, the owner of the duplex we rent half of, and the neighbor living in the other half, worked on the flower beds in front of the duplex. The roses were her pride and joy. She didn't just have red ones, but all kinds and colors. My favorite had fragrant white blooms with pink tips and at least 100 petals. Mrs. McGinnis's voice was shrill. "Vicenzo, you can't park there. It's next to a fire hydrant. Move your car." "I'm just unloading the things for the surprise party, ma'am," I said. "Party? How dare you have a party? All that screaming, and you kids always play your music too loud. It's not even music. Will there be dancing? I hate dancing. I go to bed at 9, and I'm complaining the second I hear any noise. And don't expect me to be lenient. I'm calling the cops if I have to." I was used to her pulling her little tantrums. She reminded me of my grandma. A lonely woman, she needed to feel as if someone cared. I gave her the smile I used when I met Keirnan. "Cut us some slack, okay? It's our anniversary, and I'll save some cake for you. It's chocolate, and I know that's your favorite. What if I bring it around later tonight?" Mrs. McGinnis walked over and looked at the cake. "Looks nice. I don't want any corners or any roses. Too much frosting. You have until 10 before I complain." "What if I throw in some ice cream?" "We're having caramel hopscotch with homemade strawberry topping," I said, flirting a little. As she hobbled back to her roses, she said, "Fine, just a small scoop. 11. "Bring you a glass of wine?" I yelled. She turned and actually smiled. "Why do I let you kids bribe me? Midnight, but no later." "Pleasure doing business," I said. Mrs. McGinnis's husband died a couple of decades ago, and her family doesn't visit. A little bit of kindness and a plate of fresh-made brownies does wonders. It took 10 minutes to unload all the decorations and groceries, and instead of parking in the carport, I parked my car around the corner out of sight. The duplex had 2 carports, one on our side and one on Mrs. McGinnis's side. I had an hour before Keirnan got off work, and everybody should be here within 45 minutes. We had 15 guests coming over, so I'd better step into overdrive. Keirnan's best friend, Saul, arrived as I walked back to the apartment, grinning. This weekend wouldn't have been possible without him. "Did you get the tickets?" I asked. He handed me an envelope and grinned. "No problem. It did cost a little bit extra, and by a little bit, I mean 100 each." "Worth it. I'll pay you back on payday," I said. Saul gave me a very wicked leer and said, "Yes, you will. Plus, I want you to make a romantic dinner for two I can take to the park. You remember Fiona? She agreed to go with me. Anyway, what do you want me to do first? Raylene is bringing the wine, so we need a special place on the counter for the bottles. And the glasses. I made the 7-layer dip yesterday, and it's chilling in the fridge, and I'm about to make the spaghetti and the sauce. You could put all the chips in bowls, set out the snack trays, and work on decorations. Oh, Kiernan left all his dirty clothes on the couch. Just toss those on our bed, I said, as we walked inside. Raylene's coming? You know how Kiernan gets annoyed with his sister, Saul said. I tapped my pocket with the small gift for my boyfriend. I thought it was important she be here. Kiernan has a stack of shoes by the door, too. Dump those in the bedroom, please. My bro is allergic to anything clean. You better be careful, or you'll become his mom, Saul said, rolling his eyes. A fate worse than soggy Rice Krispies, I said. I'm not a neat freak, but I know how to clean up after myself, and do laundry. I shouldn't, but I did all the household chores because I didn't want to live in a dump. In some ways, Kiernan was still a man-child, and that was beginning to annoy me. Still, those are long-term issues we can work on. Sporting a new loose-fitting linen shirt, gray shorts, and a new haircut, I was ready for the party. Some good food, and Raylene always found the nicest wine. This weekend would be epic. Kiernan. An hour later. I balanced my phone on my lap as I drove, my friend Dragonrod 345 on the other end. He lived in Tennessee, while I lived in Vegas. No, we've never met in person. I've sent out the final notification. 40 people have responded. Tonight, the Sandtech crawlies won't know what hit them. We show them we're better and steal back the icon of Hermes. Did I tell you I upped the bonuses to my Blizzard axe? I said. What are they? Dragonrod said. The Opal of Despair gives it an additional plus 10 to damage and plus 5% energy resistance. That puts me at 85% resistance, I said. Nice, he said. Then I added a sliver of sharpness. That gives me improved armor penetration and ups my crit damage, I said. Even nicer, he said. Finally, I bought a marble of Diogenes, I said, bragging a little. An impenetrable force field with a cooldown time of 30 seconds? You can't find those in the game. Did you spend real-world money on that? Dragonrod said. $500 translates to, it's in my pocket, baby, I said. I can't believe you spent that kind of money. How did your boyfriend react? He asked. What Vicenzo don't know won't ruffle his hair. He actually makes a budget every month and makes sure we stick to it, I said. Dragonrod chuckled. Leave me out of that one. As to the game, you're ready, but this is the Sandtech crawlies. They could potentially have more defensive players than we have attacking ones. Don't worry, it's a sneak attack, and besides, it's a Friday. Most people will be going to movies or something. The crawlies won't see us coming, I said. Somebody's overconfident. Since you're hosting the raid, at 7 o'clock you'll need to set up a ready room so our team can gather, as well as a temporary chat channel so we can communicate. Maybe set this up at 10 to 7, Dragonrod said. Give me a break. This isn't my first raid. I'll set it up as soon as I say hello to my computer, I said. The online game is Stellar Drift, and tonight we raid our rivals. I'm one of the 5 commanders of our team, the Digital Helos. I didn't choose the name. Some long-retired commander did. A commander gets extra perks in the game, and with each raid they lead, they earn trophies. The more trophies they get, the better the prizes. Once I earned 100 more trophies, I can get the new armor, the Crimson Obsidian Mark 555. It has a jetpack for greater speed and mobility, and it comes with an upgraded targeting scope. Plus, it's a major damage sink. Tonight should get me enough trophies. A commander has a lot of in-game duties, including setting up the raids. Raids can get complicated. We have to set up a special ready room with a common passcode and input a lot of details. It takes a few minutes. Once the ready room is set up, players will receive an invitation to log in. At the appropriate time, a portal opens up and transports us to the raid site. A lot of people are counting on me to get it set up. Parking at the duplex was tough tonight. Because of the fire hydrant out front, the place didn't have a lot of parking, and tonight was worse. Just what I did not need. Somebody must be throwing a party. Our carport was empty. Mrs. McGinnis had her huge boat of a faded blue Cadillac with a peeling black vinyl roof parked in hers. That car must be 40 years old. Usually, Vicenzo was here before me and took the carport. My boyfriend must be out shopping or getting takeout. I claimed the carport. Vicenzo would have to deal with parking on the street. The walk from the carport to our front door gave me time to coordinate with Dragonrod about the best settings for the ready room, and he recommended an easy passcode, Hilo. Friends from all over the world would join us, and we'd probably play non-stop until 3 or 4 in the morning. The excitement was building. I'm addicted to events like this. Time for a weekend away from the grind. The windows were dark, and Vicenzo's odd music wasn't playing. He wrote music for fun, created the MP3 files on his keyboard and laptop, then posted them online. People actually listened to his weird music. My boyfriend's weird, wordless techno actually had a following. Odd. Where was Vicenzo? He's usually home and has dinner made by now. Time was short. While I nuked some leftovers, I'd create the ready room. I inserted the key in the door. I opened the door. It was dark. My computer purred in the back room, a beautiful sound that only reminded me of the fun I'd have tonight. Something smelled like garlic and parmesan and sausage. And cake? This didn't make any sense. I turned the lights on. 1, 2, 3. Happy anniversary! A ton of people screamed. Oh, crap. Hey, lover, we moved in together 1 year ago this weekend, Vicenzo said, and kissed me. He's speechless, Mom yelled. Mom and Dad and my younger sister, Raylene, and Vicenzo, his older sister, and his parents, and Saul, and most of our friends were here? Crowded into our 2-bedroom duplex? Now? And they were throwing me a surprise party? Talk about bad timing. I have to set the ready room up right now. This can't be happening. Somebody clicked a playlist, and music played. My kind of music. A sign said, Happy Anniversary, hung from the blinds leading to our small deck. Platters of cheeses, meats, vegetables, small cookies, chips, and even shrimps lined the bar. Was that Vicenzo's version of a 7-layer dip? Had he deep-fried his own tortilla chips? Show off. Was that a green cake with turquoise roses? Ugly. Maybe I can grab a quick plate and run to my computer. Next to the tortilla chips were a dozen bottles of a dark-colored wine. Fresh spaghetti and sausage marinara and fresh grated parmesan were on the counter. He'd made my favorite dinner, along with 2 plates of baklava. He'd last made those for New Year's. Are you surprised? Saul yelled. Check out the cake, somebody screamed. Vicenzo, Kiernan's here, so pass out the plates already. I'm starving, Dad said. I didn't have time for this. I have to get the game set up. Raylene walked over and handed me a glass of the dark wine. I found the best wine at this little place outside of town. Not too tart, not too sweet. Have you ever tried pomegranate wine? It's my new favorite. Hey everybody, party time. Can you believe we've lived together for a year? Vicenzo yelled, and took hold of my hand. His eyes were bright, his smile infectious, and the excitement bubbled out of him. He must have had a little bit to drink, because he started dancing with me. Vicenzo's dad raised his glass and yelled, A toast for many more happy years." Everybody raised their glasses and yelled, "To many more happy years." In the silence, as everybody drank, Dragonrod's voice came from my phone. "Lightning Liz just instant messaged me. Everybody's coming online. You have to get the ready room set up now." "Is that your work calling so late? Tell them it is your night off and to call you on Dutera," Vicenzo's mom said. "That means Monday," Vicenzo said. "Sorry, when I get excited and I forget myself and switch to Greek," Vicenzo's mom said. Raylene stepped next to Vicenzo's mom. "You'll have to teach me how to say all the days of the week." Only Saul set his wine glass on the table, and something like anger hinted in his voice. "Seriously, Kiernan? The game? Dude, can't you leave it alone for a weekend? I think this is more important." "Is there a problem?" Dragonrod said from my phone. "Yeah, it's Kiernan's anniversary, and we're having a party," Saul said. "Sorry, give me a minute," I said, not sure if I spoke to the people in the room or to Dragonrod. I handed my wine to Vicenzo, ignoring the disappointed look in his eyes, and ran to the second bedroom. It was my gaming center and Vicenzo's studio, though mostly my gaming center. My computer thrummed with all its powers. My custom gaming console was bigger and more powerful than any regular store-bought system. One side was clear, letting a person see into the LED-lit electronics. I had not one, but 2 internal drives, plus an external. My baby had the most powerful processors available, and a top-end graphics card. I spent more on my computer than my friends spent on wedding rings. This was a god among machines. Just to stay cool, it needed an extra internal fan. I logged into Stellar Drift. The servers recognized my machine, and in 2 minutes I had the ready room arranged, and our team was assembling. It wasn't 40 people, but 70. Maximum participants for a raid was 75. I put my headphones on and was instantly immersed in the chatter. I set a 3-minute timer for the vortex and shifted screens to my second monitor to update my character stats. His name is the Masher, and he is a serious mother-effing tank. Dad popped into my gaming room. "You need to be out there with your family and guests, not hidden away doing God knows what. Do you know how much you just heard, Vicenzo?" "Not now, Dad. I'll join you guys when I can," I said. The sound effects rippled loudly as the vortex powered up. "I'd like it if you could come and join us," Vicenzo said behind me. A plate of spaghetti with sausage marinara appeared on my desk. "Thanks," I mumbled, gobbling the food down without even tasting it. The vortex spun, and in seconds, everybody in the ready room were whisked away to the volcano purge. It wasn't a quiet area. Upon arrival, it was instant combat. Good thing I had upgraded my weapons. If this raid went right, I'd have the new armor before dawn. "Are you going to join us? You've been here for an hour," Saul shouted. "Can't right now," I said, and lined up my scope with a distant enemy and fired. I glanced at the time. It was 8 already? I meant to get back to the party, my party, but I was too busy. "Crap, it's an ambush," somebody on my team yelled. I switched weapons and dialed up the damage. An explosion with a massive radius engulfed a third of my team. 2 players winked out. Not good. I activated the Marble of Diogenes and waded into a stream of photon fire. I don't know how long I'd been playing when a slice of green cake, a glass of wine, a bottle of wine, and ice cream with strawberry sauce materialized next to me. But I was under heavy fire from the main doors of the base. It was 9 in the evening. These raids go fast. I popped a cryo grenade, set radius to maximum, and somebody said something. Vicenzo, I think. He lifted my headphones off my head? I looked away from my screens for only a nanosecond. The grenade went off in my hand, freezing me and nearby players. One of the enemy weapon emplacements strafed me. I didn't have time to activate the marble. My damage meter went red and started flashing. I went from 97% health down to 3% health? Crap. I needed a health pack pronto. One wasn't enough. I activated 2 and an emergency rejuve. Ducked behind a ruined wall, then activated the marble to give me a chance to heal. I had almost died. How dare Vicenzo do this to me? Everybody's leaving. Do you want to say goodbye? Vicenzo said. I was livid. I jumped to my feet and shouted at my boyfriend, only inches from his face. Jerk, don't touch me when I'm gaming. You almost killed me. Don't ever interrupt me again. Do you know how important this is? You never came back to our anniversary party, Vicenzo said. But he didn't look at me. His shoulders sagged a little, and he stepped back. He wasn't as energetic as he was before. His hand was in his pocket, fiddling with something. Who cares? I went from yelling to screaming. Damn effing idiot, I don't have time for your stupid party. Don't bother me. Close the door and get your worthless butt out of here. Okay, this is me leaving, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, he said. His face twitched with a small half-grin that had no humor. A flicker of pain flashed across his face. Get out, I screamed. Vicenzo closed the door behind him. At least he left the wine. Once he was gone, I locked the door and resumed combat. I had only earned 40 trophies so far. 60 to go. I'm behind schedule. About 2 minutes later, my phone lit up. Mom was calling. I'm very disappointed in you. First, I don't like how you treated your guests. Vicenzo's mom thinks she did something to offend you. You know how sensitive she is. Second, do you know how long it took Vicenzo to set tonight up? Third, not now, Mom, I said, while sneaking through the abandoned ruins behind the enemy base. If I got distracted again before I had my health up to full, I could lose. I hung up. My sister, Raylene, called next. Only my brother could be this stupid. You do realize how rude you were. Everybody heard you. I don't know how Vicenzo... I cut her off. I never asked for a party. Leave me alone, I yelled, and hung up. I needed some peace so I could concentrate on the game. I put my phone on airplane mode. No one could bother me now. People can be annoying. Can't they understand how important tonight is? The gall of my boyfriend, of my family. How dare they interrupt me? The nerve. And just to give me a piece of an ugly cake and some ice cream? Vicenzo should know better than to plan anything on a raid night. Maybe I forgot to tell him. He expected me to remember today was our 1 year since we moved in together. Anniversary? Like that even matters? God, Vicenzo can be so sentimental sometimes. I turned up the volume on my headphones and called in a drop pod to reload our ammo. 8 hours later, an empty wine bottle, exhausted, and a little drunk, I left my computer and fell on my bed, next to the lump that was my boyfriend. I did it. I had enough trophies to get the armor, and I bought it before I logged off. Dragonrod was jealous. Only commanders ever got crimson obsidian armor. Vicenzo's stupid party could have ruined it for me. How dare he throw me a surprise party without asking me? Later today, I'd sit that man down and tell him to never plan a party on a raid night. I woke sometime in the afternoon. I hadn't been slyly drunk last night, but buzzed drunk. My body felt like it was stuffed with cotton. My mouth had this horrible taste, and my headache moved around my head. The quietness of the apartment made it worse. Vicenzo slept next to me. Good thing he didn't snore. I was still mad at him. We need to have a serious talk about last night, about never interrupting me during a game. After, I found some aspirin. Our place was scary quiet. No strange wordless music. No sound of Vicenzo prepping in the kitchen. No vacuum. No running water. No fan. No hum of the washer or dryer or microwave. No beeping of the oven timer, no clanging of dishes or pans as Vicenzo cleaned out the dishwasher or started making dinner. No car noise so even the glass door to the deck was closed. Vicenzo always left it open for the breeze. Vicenzo didn't even breathe next to me. It was quiet. It should have been relaxing, but it felt odd, disturbing. I'm being paranoid. Also odd, I'd slept in yesterday's clothes, including the shoes. I don't even remember falling into bed. I went into the bathroom and found some aspirin, and went back to the bedroom. Vicenzo, make me some coffee. Vicenzo didn't move. I went into the living room. It was a disaster. Why hadn't Vicenzo cleaned it up yet? A container of melted ice cream sat on the counter, leaking. Trays of spoiled meats and warm cheeses and rotten shrimp and sour-smelling fruit were on the table, as well as the remains of the green anniversary cake. Only one word remained on it. Kiernan. 5 or 6 empty bottles of Raylene's weird wine were on the counter next to the pots of the now-dried spaghetti and old pasta sauce. Those pans needed soaking. What the hell? Vicenzo hadn't cleaned up? Was he sick? The couch had his pillow and blanket on it. Vicenzo's clothes were neatly folded and lying on a chair. Something weird was going on. I went back to the bedroom and stared at the lump in the bed. My boyfriend was always up with the dawn. You okay? Need some aspirin? I asked, reaching out to touch him. The figure was soft, squishy. I turned the light on. It wasn't my boyfriend. It was a lump of my dirty clothes. Vicenzo hadn't gone to bed last night. I searched through the apartment. He wasn't here. He wasn't out on the deck, or working on his music, or cooking, or cleaning. It took only a second to run out front. My car was in the carport, but Vicenzo's car was not around. Vicenzo's car wasn't even on the streets. A strange, panicky feeling shivered through my spine. Where was my boyfriend? What had happened last night? Vicenzo threw me a party, and I didn't go. He interrupted me, and I was angry. I had every right to be angry. I screamed at him as he was throwing a party for me. What if he wasn't my boyfriend anymore? What if he had left? Then why was his clothes still here? I had to call him. I searched the apartment for my phone. Where was it? I found it, pushed to the back of my desk, power level at only 10%. I should have charged it last night. Where was the cable? I was too hungover to think clearly. Where was Vicenzo? After taking the phone off airplane mode and ignoring all the calls and messages from my parents and Saul and Raylene, I tried Vicenzo's number. It went straight to voicemail. He's probably at his parents' sulking, because I yelled at him for almost destroying my game. Vicenzo deserved it. I walked to the kitchen to find something to eat. The glint of broken glass came from the sink, and more crunched underfoot. The water in the sink was red. Something dark and rectangular was in the water, along with more broken glass. It was a thin type of glass, maybe a wine glass. If I hadn't been wearing shoes, I would have cut my feet. Dried brownish-red smears vandalized the counter and the floor. One of the towels was soaking red. Was that the pasta sauce? No. The air smelled vaguely metallic, almost coppery. Blood? Something cold lodged in my stomach. The dark rectangular thing in the water was Vicenzo's phone. That was dead. The doorbell rang. I wasn't the only one who had too much to drink. Vicenzo must have forgotten his keys. I answered the door. It was the old crone from next door, Mrs. McGinnis, not Vicenzo. She was carrying a small plate a small bowl, and a wine glass. "I was hoping Vicenzo was back," she said. "No," I said. "No matter. He probably stopped at the drugstore with that girl. What an unusual name she has. Kind of pretty, though. My old heart hasn't had that much excitement for years," Mrs. McGinnis said. "Is he on his way home?" I asked. "I would suppose, but I haven't seen him for hours. Tell Vicenzo that I'm sorry I didn't return these this morning, but my bones take some time to get moving, especially after a late night. And me and my grandson had a wonderful time with the hockey tickets. Did you know it was front row center? Of course you did. Also, tell Vicenzo the cake was delicious, but the strawberry sauce was a little too tart. Ever since I was a girl, I always liked sweet things." "I'll tell him when I see him," I said, trying to close the door on the old woman. "How was lunch? Can I see the ring? Did you say yes or play hard to get? When I was a girl, I told my husband no 2 times before I said yes. That's how I knew he really loved me," she said. "Lunch? Ring? What are you talking about?" I asked, opening the door back up, but only a little. "You didn't go? He said he made reservations at Ureshi Teppanyaki. You know, that expensive place where they grill your food in front of you," she said. "Vicenzo didn't say anything," I said. "I guess with everything that happened, the poor guy forgot. I do hope he's all right," she said. "Tell Vicenzo I stopped by, and I'll check on him later. Be a dear and make him dinner. He probably hasn't eaten since last night." "What happened?" I asked. "Enough to make this old woman lay down, and tell him not to worry about the nightie. I needed to buy a new one anyway." She hobbled back to her door, fumbled for her keys, and went inside. I didn't understand that. What had I missed last night? I sat on my sofa and called Saul. He answered. "I don't want to talk to you. Do you know you wasted close to $1,000? "For what?" I asked. Saul yelled. "The last of the preseason hockey tickets, the wine, the cake, food platters aren't cheap, and do you even care how long Vicenzo spent in the kitchen? He started preparing day before yesterday. Did you know that I had to stand in line for 2 hours to get those tickets, just to have Vicenzo give them to his neighbor to say thanks for saving his life? What was so important that you turned 15 of your friends and your boyfriend into enemies? And ignoring Vicenzo like that? I heard your little temper tantrum. If it was me, I'd dump your butt with a text." "I had to set up a raid, and 70 people showed up, and I earned this really nice set of armor," I spluttered. "Should I be impressed? I'll call you when I'm not so pissed at you." And Saul hung up. I called my parents. Mom's response, "I can't believe how bad you embarrassed me. And to say that to the man you love, we all heard it, and Vicenzo's mom. You know she doesn't understand English very well, and she started crying. I thought I raised you better than that." Dad gruffly said, "Is that Kiernan? I don't want to talk to him." I ended that call fast. I called Vicenzo's parents. "Is Vicenzo there?" His dad chilled me when he said, "No, I don't know where he went after he left the hospital. He said he'd call us when he got home." Confused, I said, "Hospital? What happened?" Vicenzo's dad said something to Vicenzo's mom, but in Greek. What followed was either a recipe or an argument. I had no idea what they said. His mom took the phone. "We told Vicenzo that if he needed to get away from you, he could stay here. My only son brought you a piece of cake. How could you scream at—" And then she switched to Greek again, and her husband must have taken the phone because he said, "We're hanging up now." I called some of the other people who had been here last night. Some didn't answer my call. Some signed off quickly. I called my sister, Raylene. "Do you know where Vicenzo is?" Her voice was sharp and hateful. "Yep." "Is he okay?" I demanded. "Nope," she said. "What do you mean? What happened?" I asked. "You," she said. "Where is he?" I asked. In front of me, she said. Can I talk to him? I asked. Nope. Why not? He's returning the engagement ring, she said. What engagement ring? I yelled. The one he was going to propose with? In the history of the world, your screw-up ranks as one of the dumbest in existence, Raylene said. I didn't know about it, I said. Do I have the stupidest brother on the planet? Duh, it's called a surprise party, and I think you should pay me back for 10 bottles of pomegranate wine. Those aren't cheap, but silly me, I thought last night was supposed to be a celebration, Raylene yelled. I'd had enough. Can I talk to Vicenzo, please? I don't think he wants to talk to you. We're stopping at the store to pick up some food, then stopping at the pharmacy to get his antibiotics and his pain pills. Then I'm bringing him home. Try not to yell, Raylene said. You're driving Vicenzo? I asked. Why do I get the feeling you never listen to anything? Vicenzo can't drive, not with his hand. God damn it, do you know how big of a cut that is? Do you know how many stitches he got? He had to get your landlady to take him to the emergency room before he bled to death, and she's 80 and don't see very well at night, and she was in her 90 and driving like a banshee in that big old Cadillac and trying to help Vicenzo keep pressure on his hand, and he still got blood all over her. She didn't even bring a robe, so the hospital gave her a blanket to cover herself. All because my selfish brother wouldn't answer his phone or unlock his door. Vicenzo called Saul at work on the emergency room phone, and Saul had to call me to get to the emergency room and grab Vicenzo's keys. Why? I asked. Vicenzo was in full panic mode last night. He grabbed his keys and the ring box but forgot everything else when he ran to Mrs. McGinnis's place. Did you even realize that Vicenzo was so freaked out that he never even locked the front door? When I pounded on your little computer sanctuary, you ignored me too. You're useless. After everything you screamed last night, after the way you ignored us, I don't think you have a boyfriend anymore. Or any friends. Guess what? I don't like you right now. Same with Saul, and a lot of people, Raylene said, and hung up. I opened the blinds and looked about our apartment. In the light, all the blood stains showed up. There were a lot of blood splatters and blood smears. How much had Vicenzo bled last night? Probably enough for the hospital to give him a pint or two. There goes our cleaning deposit. I was at my computer, updating my character, when the front door clicked. Lean on me and take it slow, my sister said. Look at this place. There's so much to do, Vicenzo said, but weakly. Tell me again, what did the doctor say? Raylene said. Keep the bandages dry for 48 hours or I risk infection. Keep the hand from prolonged contact with water or submersion for a week. Bigger cuts, like this one, take longer to heal, Vicenzo said. That means no cleaning. You've got the doctor's note to give to your HR? It's in the sack, Vicenzo said. You're going to hate this, Mr. Independent, but everybody does everything for you for the next week, and don't complain about it. Are you going to sleep on the couch, or the deck, or the bed? Raylene asked. It's nice outside. Deck, Vicenzo said. I walked out to see what was going on. Vicenzo was wearing the old tank top he always wore to bed, and a pair of cut-off sweats. He had bloodstains on his face, in his hair, and all over his clothes. Vicenzo had a huge bandage covering his right hand, and was very pale. Raylene supported him as they went to the sliding glass door, opened it, and Vicenzo collapsed on the porch swing. Do you need anything? I asked. Just something to drink, and about a 12-hour nap, my boyfriend said. Raylene glared at me and set a small sack next to Vicenzo. I'd guess the medication. Your next dose is in 4 hours. Are you sure you won't stay with me, or Saul, or your parents? It's not a hassle. No, I just want to be home, Vicenzo said. I'll stop by tomorrow morning to get this place cleaned up, she said. Just leave it, Vicenzo said. But there was a tiredness in his voice that I'd never heard before. As my sister left, she whispered, "Good job, brother. Someday I hope I'm as good as you at destroying relationships." I went out to the swing and sat by my boyfriend. His eyes were sunken in, and his skin was pale. I tried to hold his left hand, his freezing hand. He drew it away from mine and didn't look at me. "Do you want to lay down in the bed?" I asked. "No, I don't want to share a room with you right now," he said. That shocked me like a big old spitwad in the back of my head. "Look, about last night," I started to say. Vicenzo didn't look at me as he spoke, his voice soft and exhausted. "I had a lot of time to think. I saw a side of you last night that scared me. You've never been angry like that before, and I started crying while trying to wash the dishes. I wasn't paying attention, and a glass broke. Shards got caught in a wash rag, and before I knew it, I had cut my hand from below the thumb, across the palm, and all the way up my index finger. I was going to propose last night, but that didn't work out. On the way home from ER, since I had the receipt in my wallet, I returned the ring. We're not ready for that step. Maybe never." My heart suddenly grew still. I asked, "What are you saying?" "After you screamed at me last night, I realized that we'd fallen out of love a long time ago. Maybe we were never in love. We were friends with occasional benefits. I had hoped we were more than that, but I was blind. I'll stay until I get my next paycheck, and then I'm moving out," Vicenzo said. "But I do love you," I said. "No, you don't. We stopped going out to movies, out to eat, out to visit friends, all so you could play your computer game. You're on that thing whenever you aren't at work. When was the last time we were intimate? Guess what? I've been marking the rare occasions on the calendar. The last time was 29 days ago. I was hoping getting engaged would change things, but I can see now that wouldn't have worked. I can't compete with your computer games, so I'm not even going to try," Vicenzo said. "You've got it wrong," I said. "Do I? If I went to your computer right now, what would I find on it? We both know that that is your life. That is what you care about." "Vicenzo, you're exaggerating," I said, but realized that he wasn't. The game was on my computer. I had never turned it off. Vicenzo took a deep, slow breath and softly said, "Another thing. We're not a partnership. Maybe we never were. When was the last time we ate together? You grab something, microwave it, and run to your computer. Saul accidentally said it best. I've become your mom. I cook the food, I clean the apartment, I vacuum, I do the dishes, wipe down the counters, clean the windows and appliances, I do your laundry. What's next? Iron your clothes? No more. Except for the space around the couch, the rest of the apartment can go to hell. I don't care anymore." "That's not fair. I love you. We're a team. Because of the accident, because you haven't slept, you're not thinking right," I said. Vicenzo grimaced. "For the first time, I am." "Are you breaking up with me?" I asked. The look in Vicenzo's eyes broke my heart. His voice only trembled once when he said, "It's only a breakup if we both love each other. It took last night before I realized that we don't. Now leave me alone. It's been a long, miserable day. I hurt, I'm a mess, I can't use my hand, and I'm tired. ER visits are not cheap, so I'm broke. I need some sleep, so leave me alone." "Can't we talk through this?" I asked. "What's the point? Your game is waiting for you. Maybe you should propose to your computer," Vicenzo said, his voice deep with bitterness. Suddenly, my boyfriend wasn't the only person having a bad day. I brought him his pillow and his blanket even though it was warm outside, and stared at the mess that was our apartment, the mess that was our life. I hadn't only lost my temper last night, I lost everything that meant anything. What do I say? What do I do? I went for a walk around the block, thinking pointless thoughts. I had let something precious die. When I got back, Mrs. McGinnis was outside, taking care of her roses. One rose in particular caught my attention. A beautiful cream-colored bloom with golden edges. Did Vicenzo get some sleep yet? Last night was a wild one, let me tell you. You look like you're having a bad day. Care to share? Mrs. McGinnis asked. I told her the basics about last night, but I think she already knew. Roses are a lot simpler than relationships, but just as different. Some flowers smell lemony, some smell rosy. I know of one that smells of lavender. Most have thorns. Some thorns are nasty things like out of the movies, but some roses don't have any. Some are complicated things with more than 100 petals. Some have only 10. They're all beautiful. Roses are pretty durable, but each flower doesn't last long, especially if you don't care for it and treat it with love. Love? They're plants, I said. She turned to look at me and placed her small hand on my arm. Did you make Vicenzo a little dinner yet? I'd hurry before that rose wilts. Forever. I'm an idiot. Mrs. McGinnis had never been talking about roses. Vicenzo. To his credit, Kiernan had ordered takeout every night, and we ate at the table, making painful small talk. Kiernan had cleared away the old food and remains of the party and wouldn't let me help. I'd slept either on the couch or on the porch swing. I'd taken Monday off of work so I could get to my doctor. Kiernan drove, though we didn't speak. There was always a painful silence between us. The doctor removed the dressing and clucked as he examined the 7-inch wound. A little blood had seeped from the wound, and a little pus. The stitches were ugly black lines that held the cut together. The doctor tested each finger both for mobility and sensation, and different parts of my hand. Kiernan seemed a little green, but he didn't turn away. I don't think he realized how bad it was until he saw it. The doctor applied some type of salve, and a nurse rebandaged my hand. The doctor filled out some notes on his pad and looked at me. It looks bad, but I don't think any of the tendons or ligaments were affected. Given time, this will heal. He looked over my medication and approved an extra week. He then ordered a tetanus shot, just in case. Kiernan drove us home, and I went out back to the porch swing. He made a plate of sandwiches and sat next to me, and we ate, slowly swinging. The pain in my hand woke me. Had I been asleep on the swing for 5 hours? The sun had gone down, and a cool breeze had cropped up. I was stiff. The stitches both itched and ached, and when I moved my fingers, a stabbing pain shot up my arm. I don't think I'm going to move my fingers for a couple of days. Somebody had placed the blanket on me and left a cold root beer on the table. Like an old man, I stumbled to my feet, dreading to face Kiernan again. No doubt he was on his computer. Would he scream at me if I said hi? I could have stayed anywhere, so why did I choose to come back here? Because this was my home. I awkwardly grabbed the root beer, then stiffly walked into our apartment. The apartment smelled fresh, citrus clean. The room glowed with candles. No random garbage was anywhere. Both the dishwasher and the washing machine hummed. The hum from Kiernan's computer was gone. The lights were off. Kiernan was in the kitchen unboxing a pizza. By candlelight? He saw me, left the pizza, and brought me my medication. You should have had these an hour ago, but I thought you needed your sleep. Kiernan took my root beer, opened the pill bottles, and poured a pill from each container into my good hand. He gave me back the root beer so I could swallow the pills. Root beer is my favorite soda. Confused, I asked, "Why aren't you on the computer?" Kiernan avoided looking at me when he said, "Some things have to change." We passed the dining room table with its vase of fresh flowers, 2 place settings, a bottle of the pomegranate wine, and 2 wine glasses. 2 tall taper candles lit the table with a pale light. Kiernan pulled out one of the chairs and gestured for me to sit down. He placed a small ring box on the plate in front of me. "What's this?" I asked, suspicious. "Something to start a conversation," he said. "We're not ready for marriage, and I'm not even sure I want to get married anymore," I said. Something flashed across Kiernan's face. Pain? Disappointment? I was disgusted with myself. "Still am. Open the box," he said. Kiernan brought the pizza over to the table and placed a couple of slices on my plate. Canadian bacon, red pepper, and bacon? That's my usual order. "I'm not a crazy, angry person," he said, "and I don't know why I acted that way. You have to believe me when I tell you that I love you, and I will do anything to make it up to you. I've done a lot of thinking, and I've made some changes. I'm no longer one of the commanders. It made me insane, and I don't like being that way. When you needed me, I was so caught up in my own little world that I never noticed. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I'm taking a break from the game to discover who I am, who we are, and from now on, Friday nights are for us." I only nodded. With my good hand, I picked up a slice of pizza and took a bite. The ring box disturbed me. If Kiernan asked me to marry him right now, what would I say? I'd say no. I set the slice down and fumbled with the box, trying to open it one-handed. Kiernan reached over and opened it for me. It didn't have a ring, but a small folded piece of paper fell out. "What's this?" I asked. Kiernan took the paper and unfolded it, then laid his hand on mine. His soft smile trembled with pain, and he said, "Something I think is more important than a ring, especially if we are in this for the long term, and I am. After what you said, I got the feeling you resented me. I would too if I were you. I've been trying to figure this out, and I'd like your input. I'm hoping this will save us." "You sound intense," I said, awkwardly holding the paper. Kiernan reached over and helped me unfold it. "Not intense. I'm ashamed of what I've become, a lazy, selfish man who treated the man he loves like no one should be treated. Forgive me. It won't happen again." The paper was titled, "How to Take Care of My Rose Garden." It had big, multicolored roses all around the border, surrounding several paragraphs written in a calligraphic font. I read the full page. What the heck? Did I read this right? I read it again. Kiernan stared at me with serious eyes. He wasn't joking. The paper read, "Turn computer off at night. Vicenzo makes dinner on the even days of the month. I'll make dinner on the odd days of the month. Do own laundry. Help with groceries and other shopping. Commit to cleaning for 30 minutes each night. This includes vacuuming, dusting, washing windows, dishes, cleaning the cars, changing the bed, etc. Take Vicenzo on a date every even Friday, and he takes me on a date every odd Friday. Couples counseling, because I want to make this work. Pay Vicenzo $100 if I ever get angry. Take Vicenzo to Acapulco next summer." On the final entry was, "Every day, maybe even twice a day, tell Vicenzo that I love him." I looked up at my boyfriend, something warm bubbling in my eyes. Tears beaded in his eyes and threatened to spill out. "What do you think? Is it too late to try?" I repeated the words the doctor had said earlier today. Given time, it will heal. Then I got out of my seat, stood behind Kiernan's seat, and wrapped my arms around my boyfriend. He leaned close to me and whispered, "I love you," right before he kissed me. The end. Thank you, friends, for joining me for this story. I appreciate it. I'm Gio, and we'll see you next week. Peace.